All right, we are going to tackle the F chord in this lesson. I know you can do it. You're going to find out why some people refer to it as the dreaded F chord. It is more difficult than a lot of the other chords we've already learned, but the nice thing is, and the encouraging thing is, you already have so many chords under your fingers, you will be ready for this one. It might take some time to get your fingers strong enough to be able to play it, but you will get it. So I'm going to show you a few different variations of this F chord. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so in this variation, we're only going to be playing 4 strings. So here's what makes this one particularly challenging, is that we've got a bar the first 2 strings on the first fret. So we've got to actually use the flat part right here, the flat part of our finger instead of our fingertip. So just like that, and you have to press down really hard in order to get this to sound clean. Usually what happens is you can get one note and then the other one kind of sounds like this. That's okay, that happens at the beginning. But we want to get to the point where we're pressing down nice and hard and we can hear both strings, just like that. Next up, you've got to take your second finger, place it on the second fret of the G string or the 3rd string. And then you're going to take your 3rd finger, and this is where there gets to be a bit of a stretch here. Try to squeeze it over there if you can. Your 3rd finger is going to play the 3rd fret of the D string or the 4th string. And then the lowest 2 strings, E and A, those ones you won't play in this variation. Okay. Let's look at variation number 2. The only difference is, well, you're going to be using 4 fingers, so that's the biggest difference. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your 3rd finger, move it over a string. You're going to move it to the A string, and then you're going to put your pinky right underneath your 3rd finger. Still both on the 3rd fret. Now on the 4th and 5th strings, or the D and A strings. All right, so this one here, it's just a little bit more of a full sounding F chord. It's sort of an old school way of playing it, although a lot of newer sort of folk music, you can hear this F chord played like this. All right, and then our final variation is going to be an introduction to a full bar chord. So what we're going to do here is we're going to place our 1st finger across all 6 strings, and my one main tip for you is, instead of using the flat part of your finger, you're going to angle it a bit. So more the bony part of your finger, because that's really where you're going to get the strength to be able to push the strings down so that you can get sound out of them. This definitely takes some time. You really have to use your thumb at the back to really get that pressure. But you're going to use your 1st finger, you're going to set it right beside the fret, push it down, and then what we're going to do is, if you remember the E chord, I'm sure you do, we're going to take that same shape and instead use our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fingers. So we're taking that E shape, then we're sliding it down, and now we've freed up our index finger to be able to play that bar chord. Okay, so this one is more difficult, more challenging than I would say this one, although some of my students have surprised me. Sometimes they can play the bar chord before they can play the first variation of that F chord. So you never know. Let's see which one feels right for you, but definitely you want to work on the first one and the third one, and then if you can get to playing the second variation, that's always nice when you can add it into a song depending on what you're playing. So if you are playing this bar chord, this F bar chord, you're going to have your index finger playing that first fret. You're going to have your third finger playing the third fret of the A string, your pinky or fourth finger playing the third fret of the D string, your second finger playing the second fret of the G string, and then this is probably the hardest part right here, is getting sound from your second string and your first string, the E string and the B string. So let's go back. Here's the first variation where you're just barring the two strings, first and second. And then these fingers are just going to sit on here nicely. A bit of a stretch, but the difficult part is going to be this right here. Then variation number 2, we're just going to move our third finger up and then use our pinky. It'll be more of a full sounding F. And in that variation, we're not playing the lowest E string. And then the full F bar chord. All right, that's it for the F chord. Find the one that feels right for you. They're probably all going to be somewhat difficult because you're starting to bar the strings. And that's really where you'll start to see that your fingers at first are not going to want to press down very hard, or it might hurt a little bit, but you'll get to the point where your fingers will get stronger. But it really just comes down to just practicing it, just trying it. Even if you try the F chord once a day, for a couple minutes, and then you can move on to something else. But definitely the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. Don't try to avoid it. Try to play it when you can. All right, that's it for the F chord. We'll see you in the next lesson.